One of the biggest money earners for artists and musicians is royalties. Now, a lot of people know of royalties, but they don't know about the specifics. If you're actually going to build a career from your music and earn some money, you need to know what royalties are, how to get them, and how you get paid from them. Royalties are paid to whoever owns the rights to the music. So what do I actually mean by rights? When we talk about musical rights, we are generally referring to one of two things: master rights and songwriting rights. Master rights refer to the recorded piece of music. If you own the master rights, that means that you own the rights to that recording. Master rights are owned by whoever funded the recording of that music. Which means that if there are two different recorded versions of the same song, they are probably owned by different parties because different parties funded those recordings. For instance, both Nina Simone and the band Muse have recorded versions of the song Feeling Good. Because these recordings were funded by different parties, probably the labels, the master rights for each of these recordings will be owned by the labels that funded them, not the songwriter. We'll get to songwriting rights later. If you have funded your own recording, you own the master rights. Because you own the master rights, you have the option to license them away as you see fit. This could be to a record label for the purpose of releasing the music. Remember, whoever funds the recording owns the master rights. This means that if you get a recording done for free, whoever did the recording owns the master rights because they paid for it in time or whatever. If you're a DIY artist, you should always aim to own your master rights, at least initially. So, royalties. How are royalties for master rights paid? So when you release a recording and it gets downloaded on iTunes or streamed on Spotify, this is all generating royalties from the master rights. If you have licensed your master rights away to a label, then there will be an agreement in place that dictates how these royalties are split.
If you don't have one of those agreements, get one.
So now we've spoke about the physical recording of the song. So what about who wrote the song? If you contributed to the actual writing of the song, you will get songwriting credits. So songwriting credits don't actually refer to a physical or digital thing in the same way that master rights do. Songwriting credits refer to intellectual property. Intellectual property refers to an intangible thing that is still owned by someone. So in music, this refers to the lyrics, the chords, the melodies, the beats, the actual song itself, not any digitally recorded version, not anything like that, just the song. Unless otherwise agreed with that person, everyone who is involved in the songwriting process whatsoever should be given songwriting credits. If you wrote half the song, you wrote all the guitar parts and the drum parts, and then you have someone else who just played triangle, you are obviously going to give yourself more songwriting credits than the person who just played the triangle. Your contribution should reflect what share of the songwriting credits that you get. When a band writes a song, that band should always agree on how they are going to split the songwriting credits as soon as they've written it. This avoids any hassle in the future if you sign to a label and you start arguing about, oh, I wrote more of that song than you, oh, this particular line I wrote, so I should get 3% of the songwriting credits. Just agree on it as soon as it's written. So royalties for songwriting credits are paid a little differently. So you will earn royalties from songwriting credits whenever your song is performed publicly. Now this is a bit of a vague term, but it generally means if that song is played live at a gig or if it's broadcast on the radio. It also means if a band covers your song at a gig, you will also earn money for that because you wrote the song and you own the intellectual property of that song.
Is it not, if you wrote a song and that song ends up in people's ears and they paid for that pleasure, you get money?
Yes. This is sort of an abstract concept that is a little bit hard to understand for a lot of artists, but you definitely should understand it if you want to earn money because this is a massive money earner for so many artists. These royalties are paid through a performing rights organisation. In the UK, this is the PRS. The US has multiple performing rights organisations and you can choose which one you go to depending on which one works best for you. In the UK, we only have one option.
Which is shit.
So, going back to how these royalties are paid. If you play 10 songs at 20 gigs throughout the year, each time you play one of those songs, provided you own part of the songwriting credits to each one of those songs, you will be paid each time those songs have been performed. You will only be paid these royalties if you claim them. They don't just come to you naturally. So what you have to do with this is you have to join a performing rights organisation, you have to register yourself, and you have to register every single song that you have written or part written. This is essentially monetizing your music. If you register your song to Performing Rights Society, you have a legal registration of that song that dictates who owns how much of that song. You can either do this yourself or through a music publishing deal. Now, I'm not going to get into music publishing in too much depth today because it is quite another complicated subject that we'll save for another video. If you have signed a music publishing deal, then the music publisher should be doing all of this for you.
Unless you signed Hey, we're independent now. We can fucking slag off whoever we want.
I know, but I don't want to burn bridges.
What, with
No, because have friends, and if we slag off then we're slagging off their friends.
Okay. Fuck's
I can't stress enough how important songwriting credits are. If you have written music, you have to get that music registered so you can earn any money from it. If you don't, there's going to be a hell of a lot of money just sitting there that you're never going to see because you're not claiming it. It is a bit of a shit way that it works where you sort of have to claim it, but that's just how it is.
Yeah, like in the UK with the PRS, which is shit, as we've already said, they just kind of give out any leftover money to their big earners. So, like, as an example, like Elton John gets more money from the PRS than he should because of all of the leftover money that just gets dished out.
Yeah, it is not a fair system, and in the UK there is no competition for it, so they can just sort of do what they want.
Which is shite.
So there you have it. That was a bit of an introduction into royalties, rights, and how you can earn money from them as a DIY artist. If you are serious about making money from your music, I know royalties are really boring and it's not the most fun part of music, but you need to know about it. Royalties are the biggest money earner in music. Like, I believe we heard somewhere that Human League earn a shitload of money every year just because their song Don't You Want Me is played again and again and again on radio.
Yeah, that's a fact. A fuck ton of money.
That's income they get for doing nothing.
Yeah, it's that kind of, what's it called, passive income, that big artists are earning so much money from passive income. It's unbelievable. Like, they don't even need to release new albums if they don't want to. You won't receive that if you don't know they exist.
So for your master rights, if you have recorded music, then master rights just sort of fall to you anyway. If you have an agreement in place after that, then fair enough. But if you don't register to a performing rights organisation, you're never going to see any royalties from the songs you write. Don't miss out on money. Get registered and start earning some money.
You deserve it.